All right, it looks like we're live. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Phoenix here. Welcome to my channel. Let's give it a few minutes. Yesterday, there was quite a few that filtered through closer to the end of the live stream, so maybe be a little bit more lackadaisical today. um, yeah, let's get the logistics out of the way first. So if you are wanting to join the C3 and see all of my trades, then you should sign up for MEXC and make a deposit. And you can earn all of these rewards here. My preferred exchange, actually the only one that I can recommend at this point, to be perfectly honest with you. I've used pretty much all of them. If you're wanting to learn a lot more about cryptocurrency than what you maybe learned in my book, you should check out my courses, which are $100 total right now. And then there's the trade size spreadsheet. I'm currently putting together a DeFi document that is called my small cap superstars. And I'm going to basically list the top 10, and I'm going to share all of those that I will be investing in. And of course, I also share my investments as I make them in the C3. This will not always be open to just everyone. I'm going to have to find some way to make it more exclusive in the future. But right now it's open simply because those of you that are here putting in the effort, I feel deserve to be rewarded the most, because I know how it is sitting through a bear market. And when everyone's lost interest, last night I was researching a really promising project that is pretty low. It's pretty under the radar right now. And I was up late researching it and putting it into this report. And I'm thinking, man, if only they knew. So, it's December. It was December 8th, 2022. And people are going to think 2 years from now, they're going to be all over this project, I think. So, but you've got to have a little bit of faith in it. So if you guys are here, give me some likes, maybe comment so I know that you're here. And we're going to get started in just a moment here. I just filmed another video actually about trusting yourself, why people don't trust themselves and how you can learn to do that. And I gave some examples as a trader. I'm going to post that after this live is finished. I'm just wrapping up some quick edits on that video. So let's take a look. Hi, Peter, star student over there. We're gonna take a look and see whether this rally wants to continue. Yesterday I was pretty optimistic. Today I'm not. I haven't exactly changed my stance yet, but there are some details we need to consider. The first one being that the S&P, we pretty much round tripped on this in this range here. Interesting how it gapped up. It was up over 1%, came all the way back. These ranges aren't, trivial. They're actually, you can see what happened. It came to the top of the range and then immediately broke down, almost came all the way back down to the bottom, bounced, and now it seems like it's heading all the way back down again. But that doesn't necessarily signify the end of this rally. It could remain range bound for a period of time before making another push up. So I'm not bearish yet. I wouldn't start to get bearish until we see a rejection and we see it break down and reject here. Okay, then I would start to maybe reconsider. So we're kind of at that. We're getting closer to that point. But the Dixie it hasn't really bounced yet. So, I mean, if the Dixie started to bounce, at the very minimum, I think it needs to, break here, right? That would make sense. But I did exit my longs because we didn't get that. I was expecting, or hoping, I should say, for the retest here to be, and then to break up back up to the upside. And it didn't do that. It sort of consolidated for a while and then broke down. but then we see these wicks here. So there's definitely some indecision at this point. Like I'm not necessarily keen to short this, even though it did reject from this range here, because I don't like these wicks here. I'm also I'm not really in a place where I want to long this, because I mean, it could be that it ranges. We could get, we could start to range here again. It might play out similar to what we saw last time, where before, what do we see? We saw this range and then the breakdown of the range and then the push up higher. Okay. So maybe it does that on a micro scale here, where we see this range and then the breakdown, and maybe it consolidates here for the rest of the weekend, for all we know, the way this price action has been. And then it goes back up again and it pushes higher. But as of right now, there's no guidance, head into the weekend from the stock market. So that's not really going to help us. And if the last few months has been any indication, we may not be seeing a whole lot of action here. It may continue to hover around 17K. So Bitcoin is not really looking very attractive to me right now. I think that if, I did make some money off this yesterday because I had a long from down here, and I exited right up here. So it's pretty, decent trade overall. Gave some of it back this morning on an attempted ETH scalp, but it was okay. Not a big deal. So if it pushes up with some strength here and gets back in this range and then maybe starts to push up, then I would maybe take a long here. But if this is any indication, I don't know that it will do that. This might be the range that it's wanting to establish here. And I'd be fine if it did come up and then reject. I might consider taking just a scalp short and see how it does, and if it can break down below here. But I think we're going to be pretty range bound for this weekend. So with Ethereum, on the other hand, Ethereum actually came down. It was only at the mid, and I had longed it here, but then I cut the trade because it wasn't moving. A lot of times, if you don't see the momentum, the continuation there, in a few hours, then it's not usually going to sustain itself. I mean, sometimes we get a pullback, of course, but this consolidation and then the breakdown, and then it came back and retested, broke down. Okay, this could have potentially been a short trigger, but because of where it was in this range, I wasn't really interested in it. But now actually it did come down. Again, notice these ranges, they're not just arbitrary. Look at where it wicked to. You see that? Okay, that is connected to this. This was the initial down move that sparked the up move. Okay, so this was the initiation of this range. So that's why I have that here. So could this be a long? Well, maybe. I mean, I just don't have a whole lot of conviction in as soon as we hit, the close of stocks on Fridays, it just kind of like levels out for the most part. So, I mean, maybe Ethereum starts to push back up again and tries to retest once more. But it's not really, I think a lot of it also, we have to wait to see. We've got FOMC and I believe CPI next week. And so those are going to have, those will at the very minimum give us some more volatility to work with. Volatility's been, a lot of my trader friends are trading Forex right now and the indices. I'm just haven't been doing that. It's not really, I like to have a focus. And so, but I totally understand that. But so Ethereum, it could be a long, here, but maybe I'd want to see it kind of reject here, maybe once more wick down below. Because this could just be a temporary little bounce here on the way down. It's not showing a whole lot of strength right now. So, but if it does come down 1255-ish and then show some more strength here, maybe put in a little bit of a bottom formation on the lower time frames, then I would consider a long for that. But where it sits right now, I don't have enough information after this drop down. I don't think that Ethereum is going to really make another push down. I definitely wouldn't short this. I'll put it that way. And none of this is financial advice. I should probably mention that at the beginning of these videos, but It is what it is. So one thing that's curious here about Ethereum is the ETH BTC chart. Here you can see with ETH BTC, look at where it came down to. Again, this isn't arbitrary, okay? It came back down to this trend line, and now it's pushing back up, but it's very choppy, ETH BTC. But I think it should find some support here. If you notice, this is a previous support level, and support flipped into resistance, resistance, support, support, broke through. Will it hold here? I think it will hold as support. So that means that Ethereum could be stronger, and I would be more prone to long ETH here, definitely, than Bitcoin. So that's one thing to keep tabs on. And then, hey Sean, how's it going? And then as far as some of the alts go, I'm trying to see, I'm actually just looking at these today for the first time to see. Yeah, so Matic, I took a long on Matic like here, and then I exited like here, which actually turned out to be a decent trade, but that would have been, usually that's like a first take profit, but it was showing a lot of hesitation. And when I see these rejection wicks and I see the price action for Bitcoin, then I'm more hesitant with the alts. I think the upside is limited there. So Matic, I definitely wouldn't short this, and I don't know if I would long it either. Even though it's, it's tricky, even though it's at a point where this is sort of a pivotal level where I would normally be trading it. It's been sort of trapped in this range for a while, and I don't know how much longer it can sustain. This time around, it didn't even come all the way to the top of the range. So I'd be leaning towards more downside for Matic over the weekend. And if Bitcoin loses 17K, it's definitely headed down further, and I'd be targeting this 0.875 and then maybe 0.84. But I wouldn't long this here, even if it did show some strength on the way back up again. I'm kind of superstitious in that way because I already caught this move here, so I don't know. It could do it again. I mean, that would be rather predictable at this point, don't you think? That's what, sometimes I think about that, is if it seems too predictable, then it's probably not going to work out that way, because that's kind of how life is. This one, you're in finance, Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it. This is kind of curious here, because here now it's testing this pretty major range boundary, and I don't know that it will break back inside. You could say that we do have a range here that's formed, and we're sort of so this is a range within a range, right? So this could be a long for Wi-Fi potentially, but this makes me a little bit uneasy when I see wicks like that. So maybe it does that again. If I saw something like this, if I happen to catch this, right? If I was watching this chart and I saw that, then I would definitely be taking, well, I can't say that I would I definitely would have taken a long here. Definitely would have taken a long at this point. Just because of where it was. Usually the longer the wicks, the more significant it becomes. If you see a long wick, not just in a random place, but if you see a long wick like this and it's at a level of significance, then it's most likely going to push up in the opposite direction. There's a much higher probability of that. PPI missed. Oh, okay. I wonder if that had to do with it, though. I don't know if that has much weight on things. I mean, stocks kind of were, I guess they were up, and now they close. What did SPY formally close at? Yeah, it closed down 0.75. Yeah, it's hard to say. That's the reason I don't pay too much attention. But CPI, FOMC next week, that's going to be, those are times, for me, I pull my I don't trade. I'm flat, and then I wait. And sometimes if I see it, sometimes I'll try and catch a fast move. I'm still sort of playing around with that because historically it's not really the best time to trade. Sometimes you have to wait a few hours and see what's going to happen. Where's the dust settling? Which direction are we headed in? But Matic has been overall like really strong compared to, it's definitely been one of the winners in this bear market. And I think that if Matic, think about this, one of my strategies with researching DeFi is looking at projects that really haven't been in the spotlight yet. They didn't have the parabolic runs like in either of the previous bull markets. And sometimes it's the case that, a coin will have a parabolic run and crash all the way back down and then go back even higher. But a majority of the times, even if they do rise back up again, they don't make it as high. Okay, so that's just something that I look at first when I'm looking at a project. And so, not to say that Matic won't make new highs and do incredibly well. I'm just looking at, like, for instance, Optimism. That project that could do really, really well, even much better than Matic. This is actually only 4 months ago that this token was released. We haven't even seen what it can do yet. And it does have actual utility, can be used not only for governance, but also is for paying for, you can use the OP token to pay fees using Optimism. And I really like what they're doing. And I think that something like this could have a lot of upside. Like it could just do tremendously well. I think it's ranked like 130 right now, 133, something like that, compared to Matic. Matic, I think, will do really well. It's been really strong, and the narrative has been really strong, and they've got a lot of partnerships. But I'm interested in some of these other ones, and I'm not a spot buyer right now. I want to wait and see. I want to see what happens. It's still early for a lot of these, but this is like, think about where Matic was, I don't know, a few years ago. Think about when Matic came out. What happened? What did Matic do? Oh, it looks kind of similar, doesn't it? Looks interesting, doesn't it? Very, very similar. Eerily similar. Okay, and what was the price of Matic? What was Matic? Matic here. Let's look just 4 months into Matic and see what was it doing. It was hovering around we'll give it 1.5 cents. Now it's 90 cents, almost 91 cents. And this isn't a bear market. I mean, it went all the way up from 1.5 cents to 244. Someone do the math on that. Tell me how much of an exponential increase that was. I mean, that's a lot, right? It's like over 200x, something like that. So Optimism, I think, is one to keep an eye on. I mean, and again, we don't pay attention to the price. We pay attention to the market cap. And there's a really cool site out there that if you're interested in, it's called Market Cap of, and you can compare. So like if we say, okay, let's look up Optimism. It's not even on here. It is. Okay, Optimism, $7 with the market cap of Matic. That's a 36x. And that's in a bear market, right? So like if Matic goes up 10x, 5x even in the next bull market, then you can multiply this by 5, right? So, I mean, give or take. You never know. But yeah, just something to throw out there. And I will be including some of these that I mentioned in my DeFi reports. So what else are we looking at? So I do like how clean this chart has been, Wi-Fi, over the last I mean, look at how clean that range is. And we did just hit the bottom of that. That's tempting. That's a tempting long right there. Rather tempting. Given its overall, given the macro picture here. XRP, no thanks. Solana, no thanks. Open to suggestions if you want me to look at any charts here. Bone, I don't even know what that is. I looked that up on CoinGecko, and it sounded like it looked like a meme coin or something. There's like a doggy with it. Bone Shiba Swap, is that what you're talking about? Because there's another one called Bone. There's actually like 10 of these. Bones, Bulldog Billionaires. You know, I mean, I don't, I did, as far as tokenomics for OP, I think they have like, what was it? Like it was like 4 billion tokens, but they've only released like, I actually thought the tokenomics seemed really fair. I didn't see all of it, but they're actually, they formed a nonprofit, and they have their collective, the Optimism Collective is actually giving back to projects that are enhancing the Ethereum blockchain, and they actually have the blessing of Vitalik himself, and he was lauding them for uh their for the way that they're all inclusive with their voting, so you don't actually have to hold tokens to vote. You can own certain NFTs. But what was it? The total supply is 4.3 billion. About circulating supply is about 215 million, and I think they released only 5% of the total supply in that first airdrop, but they're also planning to do more airdrops over in the coming years, and so they're planning it out. So there's like a 4-year release schedule for a lot of airdrop tokens. So they're finding ways to incentivize users on the network, and I think it's pretty novel, and I think it's pretty fair, to be honest. I don't know like all of the details. I haven't seen the tokenomics fleshed out, but maybe if we take a look on Messari, you can see that. Sometimes Messari is really good for that. My stomach is growling. I don't know if you can hear it. I think I should probably have some food soon. I'm looking for that supply. Usually there's a token economics and a seed round. Okay. They only raised, yeah, they didn't raise much. Okay, there's nothing really about that here. So anyways, we'll see. I think it's one to follow. Let's see if we can find anything else that's worth really trading right now. This is like, nothing's really changed on this since yesterday as far as my take with Dogecoin and Litecoin. Or Link is, looks like it probably wants to come down to 666, and then I would get interested here. So this one I've had a hard time with it, but you see this larger range. No, I don't want to trade that. Aptos had a couple of trades in here. Doesn't look good to me. I'm not trading that one. That one's just on my radar. So sticking with the majors still, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Matic, and let's see how AVAX is holding up here. I'd be more on the short side for AVAX. This looks like a deviation of this range here. And we already filled in this whole gap up here with this one single daily candle. And it came up to a place of clear, obvious resistance. Probably yep, this is definitely a supply zone here. Wicked up to the middle of that and then back down again. We have sort of an evening star formation here on the 4H. Probably headed down. Probably headed back down. And I'd be targeting. But when I'm making trades, I'm just saying, okay, this is the most likely movement, but it doesn't mean I'm going to take the trade if I don't feel if I don't feel momentum behind the move, then I'm likely not going to trade, because I don't want to sit around and wait for days for it to make up its mind. I want to see something like a bearish engulfing. I want to see a wick. I want to see just something. It's got to give me something. So, but if it did, let's just say hypothetically that it did start to really show some signs of breaking down, then these would be my targets. ICP. Let's look at ICP. I'm in Forex. Where is the directional bias on this one, folks? Can you see where the directional bias is on this? I'd say it's down, right? And you could even, I mean, on a weekly basis here, what are we looking at? That. So there's that to keep in mind. And then there's your range low. Let's change the color on that. This is okay. Might as well just put this as the range high. From a daily perspective, this would be, I'm a little bit meticulous about my colors so that I know what's going on. This would be a daily range. Looks like it came up, broke above, retest, maybe wants to push higher. Well, I mean, the place to have longed ICP would have been somewhere down here. I wouldn't long or short this where it is right now, because it looks like it's sort of trying to retest this level here. But we already kind of came up and filled in a lot of this here. Didn't quite come up to this level here. But this could be sort of a lower high here on the way back down to once again retest this range. It's harder to read the alts, but I wouldn't long or short this, because you're going to come up against some resistance even if it does come back up here. So I mean, you could treat this area as another, turn my magnet off, as another potential range that wants to form, but we don't have any confirmation of that yet until it came up a second time. But I'd be careful up here with ICP, just as we saw on the weekly. And again, that's why I looking, and not that the diagonals are the end all be all by any means, but this is just something to look at, to pay attention to. And I mean, the overall trend is down. And so any sort of a long position on ICP would have to be temporary at best. But I wouldn't be interested in shorting this until I started to see it break back inside this range here. So back at or under 413, I'd be interested in. So you might, maybe we set an alert here and see. And cool thing about alerts is like if I'm home, I'll hear it because it's that annoying kind of like high frequency thing. I'll hear it in the other room. If I'm on the road, I get it on my app, and you can kind of check back in then and see what's going on with it. But this is no man's land for me as a trader. $4.50. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could go either way at this point. Like sometimes when I start to get a sense in a trade where like it could go either way, if I'm in profit, if I'm like, let's say you got in somewhere over here and it just depends on where you're at. Like if you need the win, take the win. If, not financial advice, but for me, if I need to win, I'm going to snatch profits. It's a mental game being able to take your wins. And I don't know how much higher this is going to push up at this point. Bitcoin's pushing back up, kind of, to move $20. Okay, something. See, that's why I wouldn't short this here. I'm not going to short this. What happened to my upper range level? I didn't mean to do that. Oh, it took it away. Okay, so notice how much more information you start to see when you drop down to the lower time frames, right? So like an hour versus 30 minutes. Here it wicked down twice, but we only saw that one wick on the hour, okay? Here now you can see sort of a swing, almost a swing high or swing low here, okay? So then you can start to play around. You can fine tune and see where it's breaking that, and that's how you pinpoint your entries. But Ethereum right now, yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, then I would say Ethereum is going to at least push back up 1275, 1280, 1275, but I'm not going to put any money behind it just yet, because I'd rather see it sort of consolidate before doing that. And I don't like these wicks here. Let's see if there's anything else. Litecoin I haven't looked at in a bit here. Yeah, there's nothing here unless you're trying to scalp this. I mean, you could, like this. Yeah, I wouldn't trade this. I wouldn't trade this. I actually did mention up here to my group that this was a place after it had rejected here. This was where I said I would probably be shorting Litecoin, but I didn't, because I was thinking that if Ethereum pushed up strong, it all sometimes has to do with the timing of Ethereum. And Ethereum actually didn't push up right away, so it gave Litecoin room to drop here. So this would have been a good trade. But see, why was I interested here versus here? Well, because it was at an extreme. Okay? And here I had a clearly defined range. And then we had the deviation above the range, and then the breakdown, and then the retest, and then the failed retest. So there's your entry, right? So very clear setup there in a otherwise not so clear chart. And here we had another example of that, a deviation. And then in this case, notice that it broke back inside with some strength. Okay, so you could have gotten in here, or you could have waited for it to pull back somewhat, but it broke this level here. And you can see this candle by itself would have been enough to get to pique your interest because of the sheer size of the candle. And it was initially rejected, but then when it finally broke through, if you're on the lower time frames here, you would have maybe caught that a little bit earlier. So this would have been the candle where I would have wanted to enter right here, if that makes sense. So we're looking for aberrations. We're looking for things that stand out. We're not looking to be a part of the crowd. You know, it's like that scene in The Matrix, and there's that woman with the red dress, and she really stands out in a way that's a little bit unusual, right? And this is a little bit unusual. This is unusual. Look at this big push up and then the consolidation. What's the likelihood it's going to continue to push higher? It's more likely going to be magnetized back into the range. Okay, so that actually would have been a really good trade here if you'd have had the guts to hold on to it. Even if you have, this is why it's also helpful to have your take profit level set, because one would be the mid, right? So that one, obviously, you can see, is this a valid area? Because yes, because it was previous resistance on multiple occasions and actually flipped into support here. So this would have been an initial take profit level somewhere in the mid, and then your ultimate take profit could have been, usually I place it a little bit above. And actually, it might have wicked down to it that very first wick if you got lucky here. So you might have just had that, and that would have been a nice trade there, 7.5%, and your stop would have been maybe 1.75. My stop at least would have been 1.752% here. So that would have been multiple R trade there. Litecoin is a guaranteed, 20x to 100x. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like Litecoin. My strategy for the next bull run is going to be a little different. You know, like there's a lot of fear that they're going to label everything a security except Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum. I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't know. But if they don't, I won't be buying Litecoin. I'll basically just be putting half of what I have in these small caps that no one really knows about, or a few people really know about, that still have a lot of, that have actual solid teams and actual use cases. And then the other half I'll be trading with. That'll be my strategy. I don't really plan to own any Bitcoin or Ethereum or even Matic. I mean, it's a radical strategy. I'll, give it that for sure. But I'm kind of a radical person, so it's fitting. And Litecoin is one that I will not be buying because I just, it's got a lot of room to come back up again, and it probably will go up higher. But even if Litecoin pushes up from here and we see it surpass its previous all-time highs, this was 400, let's say it goes to, I mean, that'd be a pretty big move if it did it. I mean, it could easily do, even if it 2x in the next bull run, then that would be somewhere around, 900 or something. So it could easily 10, 12x or more. That's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen until 2024 at minimum. And I was thinking about this the other day, how Bitcoin, it actually took 3 years from here to here. It took 3 whole years. Okay. So if we use that logic, I think that 3 years from here would be, yeah, would be November of 2024. So getting close to the end of 2024, and we're not even in 2023 yet. That's when it comes back to this level. I mean, it could happen sooner, but if you give it 3 years, I mean, we're a year later. It's 1 year, so we're a third of the way there. I mean, that's kind of a more realistic view on this. And so, you know, investing in a lot of these alts right now doesn't make sense to me. Maybe another year from now, or 8 months, 8 to 10 months, 12 months. Because if I'm going to just watch it kind of caterpillar around for a couple years in agony, I'd rather limit that time. We'd rather limit that window as much as possible, but still get in at a low price. So that's the strategy. That's where the strategy comes in. It's pumping because of the halvening. Yeah, I'm going to tell people what I'm going to own, but I'm not going to share it publicly on YouTube. I'm going to share it in a document that's probably only going to cost you $100 and can make you millions. But I don't know who's going to buy it. I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. If you don't buy it, it's fine, because I'm doing the research for myself, but it's valuable research. And so, you know, I value it. At least I know it's going to make me a lot of money. So, but Litecoin, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll actually start to be used more. Maybe it will become a major source of payment. How much longer can it push up for, though? That's the question. Look at these meme coins. Phantom had a nice little move up. Phantom really started to come back up, push back up again. But again, I just don't really want to trade this. It's funny because I remember when Phantom was like $2 and I said it was going to be 25, 30 cents. And man, the Phantom community just hated me for saying that. And then they all forgot. I said this like a year ago and they all forgot. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because at least I sold my Phantom when it was up here. I don't, it's fine. It is what it is. That's the way the markets go. So I think that wraps it up for today. I'm getting pretty hungry and I'm not seeing like a whole lot that I want to trade here. So go back and see just Ethereum mainly. If I was going to take a long, that's really what I'd be looking at right now. But yeah, we could be in for a pretty boring weekend. So I hope you all have a great weekend, and definitely if you're interested, check out my video a little bit later on about how I learned to trust myself more. Definitely, it's been a process, but it really helps with trading. So yeah, I asked you what bone was and you never told me. So next time, ask me next time. I mean, a lot of guys that stream, they don't even cover alt. So be grateful, folks. Have a good rest of your day.